What is keto? Introduction. Welcome to Keto. From the outset of this book, let's be completely real that keto is not a diet and should not be considered as such, contrary to popular belief. Keto could possibly be a dramatic change to your eating habits, and it must be regarded as a complete lifestyle change and an entire system reset and reboot. Keto involves reducing the number of grams of carbohydrates you have in your daily food intake, and this reduction is considered to be 20 grams and under. Although some people do achieve a consistent ketogenic state with a higher daily amount of carbohydrates, those people may be well-seasoned professionals. They have learned to read their bodies and can afford a higher carb count, or they are simply in maintenance mode from a significant weight loss from a ketogenic lifestyle. The psychology of taking part in a quote diet automatically gives people the tools to fail. It gives the connotation that it is a temporary solution that can be cheated around and picked up and put down when you need to lose a few pounds. This psychology is somehow inbuilt and is a crazily destructive way of developing a really bad relationship with food and falling into the category of becoming a yo-yo dieter, or I can't stick to my changing habits so I do all the diets mentality, which inevitably will bring around failure. The word diet alone has brought around this temporary solution thought process. So, from here onwards, we will be referring to keto as a lifestyle change, because that's precisely what it needs to be. Otherwise, your efforts will be doomed, much like other quote diets you may have tried in the past, and we certainly don't want that. The keto way of life will literally change the way you see food, think about food, and consume food. And this is not just due to the significant changes you'll be making on this keto plan. It will also come from the education you will read here that will spark your interest in how your body actually metabolizes food and where the energy comes from in relation to the food you consume. Keto has come under fire in recent years from all walks of life and some professional voices, and it's pertinent to mention it here so we can offer an informed choice of information. The keto way of life does restrict certain food groups in quite a dramatic way. Carbohydrates and sugar are the main restrictions with the keto way of life. Still, when you think about it, these things weren't available or available freely until more modern times. So actually, the body is designed to work perfectly well without them in the high quantities that modern-day food availability allows us to have. Carbohydrates and sugar, apart from being components of food, are actually the most accessible sources of quick-release energy for your body. They provide fuel for us, but not without a downside to their intake. As these components are taken on by the body to be used as energy, there also comes a time shortly after consumption that the energy runs out seemingly just as quickly as it went in. The energy rapidly running out causes a crash in energy and functions, so you rely on more sugar and carbs to bring you back up again, and so the energy/crash cycle begins again. Your body can and will manage without excessive quantities of either of these elements. Trust me. The keto way of life has also come under criticism due to the amount of fat that is included in the plan. While we will be debunking keto myths later in the book, let's just pop one mythbuster in here too. Yes, there is more fat involved in a keto way of life, and this is mainly to give the body a source of fuel that isn't sugar or carbohydrates. Fat also provides sufficient satiety to the individual, meaning it can keep them feeling satisfied for longer from the food they eat. Having a higher proportion of healthy fats in your diet can be extremely helpful with mind and digestive health and provide a source of clean energy to your body. The term clean energy is used here, as the intake of fats does not have to be metabolized as heavily as carbohydrates to be converted into energy for you to use. It's almost instant. Eating a higher proportion of good, healthy fats allows the body to metabolize other elements of your food and assists with efficient digestion. While we are on the subject of keto education, let's have a good look at how the keto way of life works in a scientific manner, as we promise that it will be an easy-to-digest eye-opener. Science behind keto. The word keto is often used to describe a ketogenic metabolic state, which is a state that you can force into the body from the amount of type of food you consume. A ketogenic state can occur in the body when the consumption of carbohydrates is drastically reduced. And by reduced, we mean lowering all carbohydrate content to a maximum of 20 grams a day, As mentioned in the introduction, you may hear of people having a higher amount of carbohydrates in their daily intake and still be in ketosis, and this can be true. However, they are usually seasoned professionals at conducting low-carb processes and can also be in maintenance mode after a huge loss. The best advice is to stick to under 20 grams a day as your maximum. Today's keto diets advocate 75% of calories from fat, 25% from protein, and less than 5% from carbs, which will put your body into the metabolic state of ketosis. Ketosis is a process that happens when your body is essentially deprived of enough carbohydrates to burn for energy. So instead, your body will burn existing fat stores, and we all have them, which creates a substance called ketones, which are secreted from the liver, which the body then uses as a source of fuel in the absence of glucose, which carbohydrates and sugar give you. In essence, keto removes the higher quantities of glucose from your consumption to force the body into producing ketones, which will then become your source of fuel, taken from the stores of fat you already have and wish not to have. Simple, right? Keto testimonials. Many celebrities have followed and still advocate the keto diet, thanking it for its success in losing a significant amount of weight, or they simply choose this way of eating as a healthy and alternative way of eating and providing a really simple and clean way of attaching to baseline nutritional needs. Celebs like Halle Berry, Kourtney and Kim Kardashian, and Gwyneth Paltrow have all been reported to be big fans of the ketogenic diet. While many celebrities will advocate the use of the keto lifestyle for significant weight loss in a short space of time, maybe for a movie role, for example, many of them stay firmly put on the plan as the results are staggering. They actually feel better and live better from following a routine that cuts out processed sugars and carbohydrates. While weight loss is a massive consideration when embarking on a keto routine, other benefits will naturally follow as a byproduct of this particular way of life, such as clear skin, fewer cravings, higher chances of conceiving, and more overall energy and that get up and go. So overall, it's a great plan to follow. How does keto work? Effects of keto on the body. So, as we've seen already, the keto way of life is particularly good for losing weight, and that's probably why you are reading or listening to this book. While this is true, we need to make it crystal clear that this weight loss that the keto process provokes will differ from one person to the next. We are all different, and our bodies will tolerate different techniques in differing ways, and keto is no different. You lose weight quickly. You will often hear people say, "I lost 7 pounds in the first 7 days on keto." And equally, on the other end of the spectrum, you may hear, "I lost 2 pounds in the first week." The different results may be from two people who have eaten precisely the same thing at precisely the same time every day for the first 7 days, but achieved different results, which is perfectly normal. The person who lost 7 pounds may have a significant amount of excess weight to lose, and it has come off quicker than the person who only has maybe 10 pounds to lose, for instance. Either way, keto will help you lose weight, but the results from person to person will not be guaranteed, as there are so many variables within individual people that will influence the amount of weight loss and the rate at which the weight comes off, too. Keto is great for weight loss, but don't be fooled into thinking you will get the same results as someone else. We are all different, and we must respect the way the body will cope with a new regime and thank it for its losses, whether that's 2 or 22 pounds. It's still doing its job. So, what other effects can keto have on the body as a whole? Let's have a look at a few things keto does, and does well. You may see your insulin resistance improve. It is not a surprise that some practitioners recommend a variation of the keto diet to those who suffer from prediabetes, type 2 diabetes, and insulin fluctuations. Excess amounts of glucose in the blood from carbohydrates and sugars can play havoc with your insulin peaks and troughs, and in extreme cases, these highs and lows can make you feel horrendously poorly. By removing the cause of the extremes in insulin levels and the excessive highs and lows from the intake of the things that cause such fluctuations, we can actually begin to stabilize our blood sugar levels so the body can function within normal ranges, which is always going to be beneficial, especially to those people who have or are predisposed to diabetes as a result of their weight and the things they eat. By introducing a variation of the keto diet, we can learn to balance those highs and lows and in some cases, get ourselves out of the diabetic or pre-diabetic category. Your energy level may increase or stabilize at a functional level. We have briefly visited the issue of energy levels, and this is such an important thing to note about keto. I wonder, if you really paid attention to what you eat now, how many of you would say that you feel great and happy and energized after, say, a can of full-fat fizzy pop? Yeah, most of us would. The sugar that is in this kind of boost will make your energy levels skyrocket, much like adding more fuel to a fire. But what happens when that fire goes out and the sugar has been metabolized? That's right, you crash. Your energy levels will plummet to a level where it will provoke lethargy and tiredness, which may have you reaching for another can. And so, the cycle continues. By introducing the keto way of life, we can learn to keep a good level of energy without the need for outside influencers to bring us up and inevitably pull us down too. The fact that keto allows your body to enter into a ketogenic state means that as long as those ketones are continually being produced from the food you eat and removing the foods you shouldn't eat, we will come on to this later, you can keep your energy levels stable and higher than you may imagine, which makes the keto way of life sustainable in relation to it being great for energy sustainability, as your body is doing all the right things for you. Reduced inflammation. When we think about a diet, we generally only qualify its effectiveness with the weight that is lost while following it, or base it on someone else's successes or recommendations of it. While neither of these ways is wrong, we often forget what a change in diet can do for us. The keto way of life can reduce inflammation in people who follow it. This is mainly due to the reduction in excessive toxins within the body, which stem from your keto food's purity and high nutritional values. Let's briefly revisit sugars and carbohydrates for just a second. Both of these things are metabolized by the body to create energy, but not efficiently. One of the significant things that happen when these elements are consumed in excess is that they turn into an accelerant or catalyst for other ailments a person may have. Having an accelerant means that the excessive consumption of that catalyst can actually make inflammation worse rather than help it ease. Removing the catalyst can help make inflammatory conditions more bearable, and keto will drastically reduce the consumption of the catalyst, therefore reducing inflammation this way. Suppose there's an excessive amount of weight being carried. In that case, there may also be inflammation of the joints, as they are trying to hold up more weight than they can manage. Extra weight may cause excessive wear and tear on your joints, which may also cause inflammation. So reducing the weight and pressure on these vital joints, such as hips, knees, and ankles, is going to be beneficial for your quality of life. How long does it take to achieve a ketogenic state? This question is by far the most popular question asked by people who are looking to start the keto way of life. And the answer is much like any other question asked around this diet. It is variable. It can ordinarily take between 2 and 4 days for the body to get into a ketogenic state when you're consuming a maximum of 20 grams of carbohydrates per day. This estimate in time can be variable from person to person. Some people may take longer than this, and this is wholly dependent on factors such as amount of exercise, how fast the metabolism adjusts in response to the changes, age, as well as the execution of the balance between carbohydrates, fats, and proteins that is consumed on a daily basis. So, how do you know for sure if you are in ketosis? There are a few surefire ways to denote whether your body has entered a ketogenic state, and this is through testing, and you can do this via the urine, breath, or blood. Obviously, one of these options will probably suit you better than the others, and the most common way to test for a ketogenic state is to use reagent strips that are designed to detect ketone levels in the urine. The darker the strips go, the more ketones are there. It takes approximately 2 to 3 weeks on the keto way of eating to start burning fat from the fat stores you already have in the body. While keto is billed as an instant weight loss solution, and for some people it can be that, but if you are grossly overweight, you may not notice visible results straight away. We certainly don't advocate obsessing about what the scales say on a daily basis, as your weight can and will fluctuate. The best advice to give is not to expect instant results. If you expect those kinds of results, you will only get disappointed when you don't get them and head straight for the cookie jar. However, when you really stick with this way of life long enough to form some really good eating habits, you will notice significant changes that almost sneak up on you. It takes 21 days to make a new habit and break an old one. So be sure to give yourself at least this time to begin making some really positive keto blueprints in your life. How sustainable is keto? When we look back at a period in time where there was no such thing as refined foods, such as the prehistoric era, all the hunters had to consume was meat from catching and killing animals or eating vegetation from the surrounding land. If we put this into modern-day context, we can see that doing the things the hunter-gatherers did many years ago is sustainable for years. Of course, we don't know precisely what they are day by day, and they, of course, would not have the foresight to write a food diary of the number of carbs they were eating in a day, if they even knew it was a thing. But what we do know is that they only had meats, leaves, and berries to sustain their whole lives, and they appear to be incredibly fit people. Although keto has only come into popularity in recent years, we can look at sustainable evidence from similar ways of eating, such as the paleo diet or the Atkins diet, which centers primarily around proteins. We can see that some people have been sustaining these diets for a number of years successfully, and keto is a little more varied than these variations, so one would assume that it is even more sustainable to keep up. Who is keto suitable for? The keto way of eating can actually be suitable for a majority of the population. Of course, if you have some medical concerns, complaints, or taking any regular medication for any ailments, it's always best to seek medical advice from a qualified practitioner or a dietitian before embarking on any major overhaul to your diet. But being totally honest, keto is a way of eating that can bring so many benefits to many people, regardless of age, race, or gender. And looking back historically, eating in the same fashion as our predecessors can't be a bad thing when the only food they had was keto, and they did okay in the survival stakes. So who is keto also suitable for? Let's take a look at some of the benefits we have mentioned in a bit more depth to see how excellent a keto way of life can be for you and your holistic health, as well as your weight. Effectiveness against weight loss. The keto way of life is usually undertaken as a solution to losing a significant amount of weight. Not many other forms of eating can sport this very clever function. While losing weight is inevitable on any, quote, diet, keto is a little different in regards to the body being able to shift into a different metabolic function that allows the body to use its own fat stores as fuel for everyday life. Not only does keto give you the weight loss you need, but it also gives you the energy to maintain a good level of energy throughout the process to avoid those slip-ups. Effectiveness against muscle gain. Without getting too technical, a keto way of life is known to promote the sustainable levels of insulin that's needed to keep blood sugars level. Remember the peaks and troughs of blood levels we mentioned earlier? Well, insulin is what's called an anabolic hormone. If you know anything about muscle gain or weightlifting, for instance, you will know that anything with the word anabolic in it is an excellent element for gaining muscle mass and promotes muscle gain. Much like we mentioned about sugar being the catalyst of exacerbation to inflammation, a keto way of life can promote an anabolic result on muscles. Along with the correct exercises, you can gain significant muscles on keto with no adverse effects. Effectiveness against type 2 diabetes. Many people who fall into the pre-diabetic and type 2 diabetic categories are often advised to lower their sugar and carbohydrates in an attempt to control insulin levels, which will, in turn, control the chronic condition or pre-chronic condition to a manageable level. Now, we know that pre-diabetic and type 2 diabetes can actually be reversed, and a low-carbohydrate diet may be the recommendation as to the key to avoiding, or at the very least managing, a potentially long-term chronic condition. As we've already seen, a keto way of life has the ability to stabilize glucose levels within the blood, which is a crucial factor when we are talking about diabetes. If we can level or reduce the glucose, we can start to balance the insulin production from the pancreas. If we can do this within a normal range, there may be no need for any medical or pharmaceutical intervention. Effectiveness against joint health. We have briefly mentioned inflammation within the book so far, but this can be a huge thing if you suffer from it. Keto reduces your carbohydrates, which we know already, and lowering your carbohydrate intake will inevitably lessen the flares of inflammation you have within or around your joints or within the structure of your skin. The keto way of life promotes the intake of healthy fats as opposed to saturated fats. Saturated fats, along with sugars and metabolized carbohydrates, can exacerbate inflammation. So, if we reduce the things that can irritate inflammation, we can reduce the instances and severity of the flares. Of course, when we are championing weight loss through the keto methods, we are also promoting less weight that our joints need to carry on a daily basis. You will, in turn, lessen the excessive wear and tear on weight-bearing joints, such as hips, knees, and ankles. This one is a win-win situation. Effectiveness against fitness management. We've seen how the keto way of life can do many things to help your weight, energy levels, and chronic illness management. So what about fitness management? Imagine if you avoid the gym or any form of exercise because you have no energy, your joints hurt, and you're overweight to the point of exhaustion with any type of exercise. Now imagine you had followed keto for, say, 4 weeks, and you were starting to feel a sustainable level of energy, less pressure on your joints, and a little less heavy. Now you could think about accelerating your results by incorporating a small amount of daily exercise to keep your cardiovascular health in shape. Keto is great for giving you all the tools you need to succeed with your overall holistic health, which includes energy and confidence to start to take part in some exercise, which you may not have been able to manage before. Effectiveness against skin, hair, and mental health. There are some elements of keto that people often don't know, and these are often the effects of this particular way of eating on your skin, hair, and mental health. So let's have a look at those in a bit more detail. Skin. By lowering the sugar and carbohydrates when following the keto plan, you reduce inflammation occurrences, which is essential if you suffer from skin conditions, such as psoriasis, acne, and dandruff, for instance. The keto way of life will give you the healthy fats you need to lose weight. Still, a welcome side effect of this is a reduction of inflammatory dermatological conditions such as the ones mentioned, which may give you clearer skin, fewer outbreaks of the conditions, or a reduction in the frequency of the flare-ups. Hair. There is a concern that consuming a higher level of fat on the keto plan will create greasy hair, but we can assure you that the fats you consume will be used as an energy source and not seep out through your follicles. Healthy fats will actually strengthen your hair that grows, as it will have a supportive network of fats to protect each strand and give it the best nutrition. While you may lose weaker hair at the beginning of your keto journey, be assured that your new hair will be healthy and strong. Mental health. This is a delicate subject when it comes to dieting and weight management. Many overweight people suffer from some degree of mental health issues due to their size, a specific element about themselves they wish they could change, or their confidence from being overweight. Mental health is something that some people don't realize they are feeling. Still, some others are acutely aware of how their weight affects their mental well-being, in the form of anxiety, depression, or not feeling confident about the way they are. As we have seen, keto can give relatively fast results that you will notice first, which will have the ability to start feeling better in your mind, allowing you to continue on your journey to better health and better weight. But once other people start to notice the changes in you, this will be when you can really begin to build yourself back up and live a happier and more confident life. Keto myths debunked. So you think you know about the keto diet. Maybe you've heard something about it, and you cannot tell if this is true or not. There is always going to be speculation and doubt surrounding the diet, and some people will disagree with specific ways of eating for one way or another. Miseducation and untruths can lead to a lot of myths surrounding elements of a keto diet that just aren't true. Or, on the opposite side of the scale, they could lead you to disbelieve something around keto, which actually holds a lot of substantial weight. Shall we have a look at the top 10 misconceptions around the keto diet? 1. You can eat as much as you want of the approved foods. Very simply, you cannot do this. Well, you can, of course, as you have free choice, but eating without being mindful of your caloric limitations will halt the effectiveness of keto in its tracks. A balanced diet for weight loss, the keto diet included, is always a diet that is mathematically a calorie deficit, which is a diet where your total caloric output is more than your consumed input. While this is applicable in the keto way of eating, keto processes actually change the metabolic function of fats. So while you'll be changing a physical element of metabolizing the food you eat, you also still need to be mindful not to gorge on every steak you see 7 times a day. 2. You must eat all of your fat grams per day. Your food allowance is a clever fact to understand. When you're able to work out all of your allowances per day of fat, protein, and carbohydrates, the instinct will be to eat as much as you can to meet those targets every day, to say that you have stuck to the plan for that day. While it is advisable to make sure you get a good balance of foods, your fat content maximum marker per day is only a limit, not a goal. So if you're 10 grams under your allowance, that's okay. 3. You must eat all the meat. If you're old school and remember the Atkins diet, you may think that keto is something similar in its rules and regulations. However, keto places more focus on fats than it highlights proteins as the primary winner in the keto scenario. So when you enjoy keto, it is always pertinent to remember that while protein is an essential factor in being successful on a keto plan, it is more important to focus on the amount and type of fats you're consuming, in conjunction with those lovely meats. 4. Being at a higher level of ketosis means faster results. Levels of ketosis is a super myth, and one that holds little to no scientific weight. Being in a higher state of ketosis does not mean your results will be bigger and better than a lower level of ketosis. The color on your keto reagent strips will differ with the number of ketones they detect in the urine, but this is not indicative of the effectiveness of those ketones. Ketosis is ketosis, regardless of the level indicated. If you are in a fat-burning state, you're in it. It's very simple. 5. Carbohydrates are to be ruled out completely. Now, there are very few foods that have a carbohydrate content of 0. So when it comes to this myth, you can see that it is simply not sustainable. You'll be eating the same foods day in and day out if you go down this route. Carbohydrates are not the enemy, and most foods contain a degree of carbohydrates, so making them the bad guy is a big no-no in keto. Learning your food and what it has in it is the best way forward, and avoiding anything that sits high in the glycemic index is the best advice here. 6. You must avoid alcohol on keto. If you are someone who has avoided keto like the plague because of this myth, you may reconsider after this news. Alcohol is not forbidden in the keto way of eating. Still, certain drinks should be avoided, such as fermented alcohols like lager and ale, along with cocktails that generally have mixers that are not keto-friendly and full of sugar. Low carbohydrates have become increasingly popular over the last decade, and alcohol manufacturers have taken this on board and have made available a small selection of favorite alcoholic drinks that are low or no carb. But as a rule, if you stick to clear spirits and diet mixers, avoiding juices, you'll be more than okay to have your favorite tipple on a Friday night. 7. You must incorporate intermittent fasting with keto. Intermittent fasting is a process whereby you fast your body of food for a certain amount of time to accelerate weight loss and detoxification. However, it is not a prerequisite of keto. You have to remember that ketosis is a metabolic shift that is achieved by the change in the composition of the food you consume. This metabolic shift is not reliant on IF to work, and not taking part in intermittent fasting will not harm your keto efforts either. Intermittent fasting, of course, has its benefits within established keto, but it is undoubtedly not a must-do element to be successful. 8. You don't have to exercise to lose a lot of weight. This is partly true, partly not true. You can successfully lose a lot of weight while following a keto plan, but there will come a time that your body gets adjusted to the diet alone, and you may hit what is called a plateau, where your body gets happy with what you are doing and your weight does not budge. A plateau is where exercise will come in really handy for changing things up, so your body is always working at the best level it can to get you to your goal. Exercise is always recommended for cardiovascular health, and you should exercise as soon as you're able to. If keto is giving you all of this newfound energy, why not use it to make yourself a bit fitter in the process too? 9. If I have ketones in supplements, I will be in ketosis. This is a toughie to get across, but the concept is really simple. Since keto became popular, there have been products popping up all over the diet market with, quote, ketones that promise the same amount of weight loss by taking them, but not having to follow a keto plan. These are called exogenous ketones and are usually derived from fruit enzymes, and taking them will put ketones into your body from an external source. These are not harmful, and may add to your body's ability to burn fat. But you cannot take these and then go and eat a donut and expect to be or stay in ketosis. You cannot provoke or maintain a change in a metabolic state unless your food consumption supports the changes too. Simple. 10. You can't eat fruit and vegetables. The myth behind fruit and vegetable consumption on keto is the best myth about keto, which makes people who have been on keto for a while laugh out loud. This myth comes from miseducation on the food itself. While it's true that most fruit and vegetables contain carbohydrates, they are still an essential part of any diet to maintain optimum vitamins, minerals, and fiber. Without these crucial elements in your diet, your body would eventually fail you. So, you should include fruit and vegetables in keto for this very reason, but you should be mindful of the fruits and vegetables that have a very high carbohydrate content, such as mango and banana. Instead, you should opt for berries as your source of sweetness, in moderation. And your vegetables are best to be as leafy and green as possible, such as spinach, kale, and lettuces. How much weight can I lose on keto? Of course, the most essential thing that everyone wants to know is how much weight you will lose by following a keto plan. The answer to that is, of course, variable. A keto plan in all its glory, and when followed correctly, will reap you the weight loss benefits you are looking for. After all, we are switching to a different metabolic state instead of just following a plan. At the very beginning of your ketogenic journey, you will likely lose a fair bit of weight as your body transitions into a ketogenic state. This is simply because it is a new way of life for both you and your body, and the change will provoke a significant weight loss in the early days. During the first 4 weeks, your weight loss can be rapid or steady, but there is a high chance that if you're doing the things you were meant to be doing, then your weight will indeed go down. How much that is can be dependent on so many factors, including how strict you are with your foods, how much fluid do you actually take on board, your initial starting weight, how much exercise do you incorporate. You will hear in every diet that a calories deficit is the most important thing to adhere to, and the simple way to make this happen for you is to make sure your output is more than your input, and the keto way of life is certainly no different. When you think of it like this, 2,000 calories from chocolate is still the same as 2,000 calories from the steak. Regardless of the amounts consumed to get there, the 2,000 calories are, in fact, still the same. It is important to recognize here that some people will choose the keto way of life because it is hailed as the no exercise plan. While this is somewhat true due to the metabolic switch-up, where you will in fact feel your clothes getting looser, the idea is that you incorporate moderate exercise whenever you can to assist in that calorie deficit to make the plan even more effective for you. When we are talking about a whole way of life change, we are talking long-term. While this doesn't necessarily mean consistent weight loss, because there will be times you don't see the scales budge, but you will feel healthy. And there will also be the time you fall off the keto train. You will have to start back at the beginning all over again. And we need to be real about this, because things do crop up in your life where you fall off the train and derail for a day or two. But please do not beat yourself up about it. We are all human, and it happens. It is super important to note here that the most important thing you can do if you get derailed and start driving the carbohydrate bus is to recognize it, acknowledge it, accept it, move on. When you commit to changing your way of life, it is the process of breaking old habits and making new ones that are often the hardest to achieve. The last thing we need is to be making that commitment every Monday morning after breaking it the Saturday night. So in answer to the actual weight loss you can achieve on a keto plan, well, it's all up to you. Sticking to the rules and making sure you are not cheating yourself can have you achieving significant losses. How much weight can I lose with keto in comparison to other diets? Comparison is an interesting point because there are so many diets and plans around now. Some of them follow some really sound scientific facts, which obviously sways a decision. Still, most of them will not change the routes and results of the metabolic switch like keto does. In this bracket, we're also placing Atkins, paleo, and to a degree, low-carb plans. All other plans, in fact, create that calorie deficit by suggesting foods on the lower end of the calorie chart and recommend movement and exercise as a counteractivity to create the calorie deficit to therefore lose weight. which we know. As much as we would love to give you some definitive numbers here, as you may have already guessed, the results are totally variable. If we can make a big sign that says, everyone is different, then we would. Diets that make absolute claims on the amount of weight that you can lose on them only set you up for bitter disappointment when you don't reach those numbers yourself. And that isn't your fault. Of course, they're going to show you the best case scenario with their plan and showcase the biggest loser achievement as a hook to join that particular plan or diet. In the public eye, that will create colossal impressions and leverage, and in this digital age, make it trend around the world, but often not without a cost to you. Keto is essentially free to do. We say essentially because, of course, you have to buy your own food, which is a thing you have to do anyway, right? This element is often the most significant consideration that brings people over to the keto side, as keto does not, and should not, have to rely on membership, subscription, or meetings to be able to succeed. Once you have the keto rules set in as a strong habit, you will be able to follow them with so much ease. Of course, keto is restrictive. This is the case as it allows the metabolic switch to happen to burn your fat stores for your own fuel effectively. And without that switch, nothing much would happen. This switch from burning fuel from your food, carbohydrates and sugar, to burning your own fat stores for the same energy will see you pull in bigger and better results than only eating cabbage soup for a month, for instance. Personal results can and will vary, and it is super important to remember that although keto will help you lose weight, it will give varied results from person to person. These variations will include your gender. Males can indeed have more success in the early days of keto, but equally, this happens with men in most diets. Men are designed naturally to have more lean muscle mass, which incidentally burns more calories than fat does, even when the body is at rest. It just so happens that if a male and a female ate precisely the same number of calories, carbs, fat, and protein, the male would actually lose more weight at the beginning than the female. Sorry, ladies, but that is just the way it goes. Men usually do lose more weight. Your carbohydrate level. I guess it's important here to look at the different variations of the keto diet to try and understand that some people have a higher or indeed lower amount of daily carbs to satisfy their keto needs. Even among all the different types of the ketogenic diet, a person should consume up to 50 grams of carbohydrates daily to stay in ketosis. The 50-gram allowance is the scientific limit that's applied to allow ketosis to be achieved and maintained by the body. It is an upper limit, not a bullseye target. Let's have a look at some varying ratios of fat to carbs to protein for the differing variations of keto to see how, although the figures make up a whole day, the proportions can be very different. Standard keto, 70% fat, 20% protein, and 10% carbs. Cyclical keto. There is a cycle of 5 low-carb days and 2 high-carb days, often called the 5-to-2 diet. Targeted keto. A person will consume more carbs around and just before high-intensity workouts to sustain energy levels. High-protein keto. 60% fat, 35% protein, and 5% carbs. The amount of fat you incorporate. Being fat-adapted is a term that seasoned professionals of the keto diet use, and you may be wondering what it will mean for you and your keto success. After following a keto way of eating for a few days, your body will go into ketosis, which, as we know, is a state where the body breaks down fatty acids to form ketones that are then used for energy. The term fat-adapted means, very simply, that your body has indeed reached a state where it burns fat for energy more effectively. You may enter a fat-adapted stage in your keto journey anywhere between 4 and 12 weeks after your body enters the initial stages of ketosis. And again, this is totally different for everyone and is highly weighted on how strictly you adhere to the keto diet. Your protein intake. A keto way of eating recommends a protein intake of 1.2 to 2.0 grams per kilogram of body weight. The amount of protein is across all of the variations of the keto plan, and whether you are male or female. This recommendation is to retain your muscle mass and ensure that you have all the healing benefits that protein provides for your body and cells. Your level of activity. While the keto way of eating may not be best for exercises that require short bursts of energy, like sprinting or lifting weights, It will work exceptionally well in burning fat in those people who enjoy aerobic exercise, which is steady and continual in nature over a more extended period of time, such as aerobics, swimming, and walking. Your fluid intake. You may have heard that keto can change the way your body processes water and electrolytes, which is undoubtedly true. And we need to keep in mind that these are fundamental elements of your success on keto. Thirst is something that a lot of people mistake for hunger. So even though the guidelines for fluid intake is at 8 glasses per day, however, it is always going to fluctuate during exercise or on a warmer day. So the best advice is always to drink when you are thirsty, because this seems silly not to. Drinking mineral water will help you replace those essential electrolytes and keep your body in a harmonious balance. However, you can find some electrolyte replacements that you can add to water to replace those elements of your diet. Whether you are clean or dirty keto. So, there are 2 different versions of keto that people can follow, and a lot of the decision on which one to go for often falls with your budget. Clean keto focuses on whole, nutrient-dense foods and puts more emphasis on food quality, and consists primarily of whole foods from quality and ethical sources, such as grass-fed beef, free-range eggs, wild-caught seafood, and healthy, clean fat oils. Clean keto also minimizes the consumption of processed food. However, you can still eat it in extreme moderation. Dirty keto still remains low in carbs and high in fat. However, the food sources are often not as nutritious. You may miss out on crucial nutrients and increase the risk of disease. Dirty keto can also be called lazy keto, as it is fully accepting of highly processed and packaged foods, meaning you can still achieve ketosis without spending lots of time or money on preparing clean keto meals from scratch. People who predominantly eat dirty or lazy keto meals often find themselves with higher sodium levels in their bodies. How easily do you achieve and maintain ketosis? Obviously, the easier you can achieve and maintain ketosis, the more weight you're going to lose in a shorter period of time. Achieving a keto state can differ for everyone. Still, as a guide, you are looking to start producing ketones within around 72 hours. You can detect this via the urine. Remember, all you're looking for is the ketone strips to change from light to dark. Regardless of the color it changes to, you are still producing ketones if it changes marginally or drastically, which is precisely what we need. Maintenance of ketosis can sometimes be a tricky area. There are so many reasons that your body may jump out of the ketogenic state, most of which we can control. So as long as you're doing everything right, the maintenance will be easy. The absolute worst thing you can do is cheat yourself. If you eat the cake, just own eating the cake. There will be a high chance you drop out of ketosis by doing so, and there is absolutely no need to beat yourself up over something you chose to do. So make the decision to own it and start fresh the next day. Carbohydrates. So we have seen that for a diet to be classed as keto, we are looking to incorporate lower than 50 grams in total per day to achieve a ketogenic state. While this is incredibly achievable, you will find that on days where you have a lower amount of carbs, for instance, at a barbecue and you have so much protein in salad and you think you have overeaten, your weight may come down a little quicker than on those days where you're at the top of your upper limit but still feel hungry. The key is filling up on the things you can have, not making sure you hit the 50 grams on a daily basis. Although you can, and you will still lose weight, it can and will fluctuate. Overtime and maintenance information. It is no surprise to learn that, as with most dietary changes, your body will adapt to the new way of eating, just like it adapted to the old one, and will indeed get used to the way you are feeding it and what it does to accommodate what you give it. At the beginning of keto, you may find that your weight loss is rapid, which will inevitably slow down over time. You can, of course, kickstart the weight loss if you find yourself hitting a bit of a plateau by lowering your carbs for a few days to a week. An alternative to lowering your carbs would be to commence intermittent fasting. While this is extreme, and we'll discuss this more later in the book, it can help you get out of a plateau stage and kickstart your weight loss into motion again. What we don't recommend is binging on high sugar and high carb foods to knock your body out of whack, only to confuse it the very next day with a return to the carbohydrate limitations. Although this will work to achieve a new state of ketosis, it's not a healthy way to achieve it. Ketones versus ketosis versus ketogenic. What's the difference? People who know very little about keto will be confused by this and will often mistake them for the same process or have no idea what the actual difference is between the three different elements. Although you can connect all three separate entities, they are also individual elements in their own right, and it's really important to know which is which and what the essential things are to know about each one of them. What are ketones? Ketones are a type of natural chemical that your liver produces and secretes into the body when it is broken down fats. This is especially important to know when you are embarking on keto, as ketones are the one chemical you are looking to produce. Your body will use the secreted ketones as your energy source in the absence of a carbohydrate presence, typically during any fasting periods or on those days where you have a lower amount of carbohydrates. It can be the instant source of energy your body needs during long periods of exercise. The significance of ketones is knowing the difference between when they are good and bad, as you will most likely have someone tell you that ketones are bad, which is usually derived from a diabetic perspective. When people with diabetes have a buildup of ketones in their body, this can be detrimental to their health and can cause some severe complications. But ketones for someone on keto is the crucial element. Producing ketones indicates that you are doing all the right things. So if ketones are a chemical, what is ketosis? Ketosis is a natural switch in the way your body metabolizes food for energy that can be provoked within your body when it is deprived of a high amount of carbohydrates to burn and be turned into your energy. Ketosis is a popular low-carb term you may hear lots over the time of your keto journey, and it will be incredibly helpful in helping you burn your fat intake for fuel. But also, it will kick into burning your own fat stores for fuel too. The state of ketosis can naturally make you feel less hungry, as the state the body gets into knocks out the feeling of hunger in a majority of cases. The state of ketosis can also mean that you retain more of your muscle mass, which is partly thanks to the natural state, and partly due to the amount of protein you'll be taking in. Modern-day diets are significantly higher in carbohydrates than, say, 20 years ago. With the introduction of many food processes within the food chain, we have found that some of the things done to produce and preserve food actually add added sugars and carbohydrates into a majority of the food available to us today. While many governments around the world are highlighting the dangers of too many refined sugars and carbohydrates by adding more tax to sugar and full-fat versions of drinks, for instance, keto has always known and practiced the fact that sugar and carbohydrates, consumed in excess, will indeed make you pile on the unwanted pounds. So, looking back at ketosis, it is a process that the body can be deliberately put into by lowering the carbohydrates in the food you eat, which in turn burns any existing fat as fuel for your body and produces those chemicals called ketones, as we saw in the paragraph before. So if ketones are a chemical and ketosis is a process, what on earth does the term ketogenic refer to? The term ketogenic is in reference to a low-carb diet, such as the keto diet, the paleo diet, or the Atkins diet. It is a term that is used to encompass the whole process of eating, and you will often hear the term ketogenic diet, or keto for short, hence why you're here. While the term ketogenic is not exclusively related to keto, it includes many other similar ways of eating, which run by the same low-carb eating principles to instigate and maintain the state of ketosis. The low-carb way of eating is actually centuries old, dating back to the Paleolithic era, hence the name of another variation of low-carb diet, the paleo diet, where the only sources of food that were available for consumption were what people could catch, kill, or pick from trees and bushes. However, low-carb for extreme weight loss came into heavy popularity in the late 1990s with the Atkins diet, which experts and dietitians clinically researched for years before its explosion into American diet culture led by Dr. Robert Atkins. The Atkins diet was given serious credibility and was used by many Hollywood celebrities to drop weight fast for film roles. Even to this day, the Atkins diet has such a massive following as a new diet revolution. The difference with keto, as opposed to Atkins and paleo, is that keto offers and actively encourages carbohydrates from natural sources of fruit and vegetables, which are elements that are essential to gain the essential vitamins and minerals your body needs to function correctly. You can still be in a ketogenic state with fruit and vegetables in moderation, and in fact, your daily carbohydrate limit should be gleaned from these sources. Why do macros matter, and how to calculate them? What are macros, and why are they important? While the science behind macros, or macronutrients, is quite complex and involved, it's crucial that you understand that they're essentially nutrients that provide the body with the necessary energy it requires to perform and function at a typical standard, in the form of carbohydrates, proteins, and fat. These critical elements are required in particular amounts to sufficiently support and encourage the growth and development of your body, keeping you physically fit and healthy internally and externally. While much beyond merely these carbohydrates, proteins, and fats include macros, such as water and even alcohol, when people discuss their macros, they typically only reference the big three, for these are the ones that provide you energy and are therefore of most importance, especially in context of the keto diet. While many go on fad diets to try to cut out these three in the pursuit of losing weight, it's vital that you understand the need to have all three in order to have and maintain a healthy body and lifestyle. Losing weight isn't always a healthy thing, and a weight loss journey must only be undertaken in the correct manner and for the right reasons. It's therefore incredibly important that you make sure that you're well educated and understand your body's needs before embarking on a new diet, and that you get in touch with your doctor or a medical professional to ask their opinion and advice too. Carbohydrates are required to provide you quick energy, converted by your body into glucose, also known as sugar. This glucose is then stored as glycogen to be used by your body later when you may need it more, such as when fasting between meals, or to be used immediately if required when exercising. There is also such a thing as complex carbohydrates, such as whole grains, which promote digestive health due to their being high in dietary fiber. Proteins themselves are made up of amino acids that are the building blocks of health and strength in your body, as you may remember from school. Your body requires 20 different types of amino acids, 9 of which are undoubtedly essential. Unfortunately, your body is unable to produce these on its own, and therefore you must eat certain foods that will provide them to you orally. So, if you're looking to improve your nutrient intake, keep eating lots of beef, fish, and dairy products, as well as other essential food groups. But don't fear if you want to remain a vegetarian or vegan, for there are still many ways to get a solid protein intake while staying plant-based, though you might have to be careful you're still getting enough. If this is the case for you, take a look at vegetables, beans, and also some forms of starches to introduce more abundantly into your diet. While diet culture will often go out of its way to tell you that all fats are, quote, bad, this certainly isn't the case, and fats are essential to ensure your body can keep working as it should. Fats are required to absorb vitamins A, D, E, and K, which are fat-soluble and necessary to insulate your body during cold weather to keep you warm, particularly through long periods of fasting. Fat also helps protect your organs, induces hormone production, and supports cell growth. While much of the mainstream media, as well as the profit-hungry health and wellness industries, may tell you that fats are bad and evil and you should avoid them to be hungry, this isn't the case at all, and they are in fact necessary for your continued health. There is also such a thing as micronutrients that aren't required in such large capacities, though they are essential. For example, vitamins, minerals, and electrolytes are important to your general health, but they don't provide any actual energy, and therefore aren't discussed as intensely within the realms of the keto diet. How much do I need of each element? Each macronutrient corresponds to a specific number of calories per gram, such as carbohydrates and proteins having 4 calories per gram and fats having 9. While it might be instinctive to ask what percentages of calories you should be eating, the truth is that your macro mix will entirely depend on you, your body, and your goals. This is why it's so important to do thorough research and ask a professional about this lifestyle change before continuing with it, to ensure that you are doing everything correctly and looking after yourself. Some people's macro mixes will focus on wellness, weight, or fitness goals that, perhaps even if they're the same height and weight as you, will be entirely different to your own needs. While yes, it is possible to lose weight by tweaking your percentages, such as a lower percentage of calories from carbs, it's also possible to lose muscle and cause significant suffering to your overall health and well-being. So don't take unnecessary risks and make sure that you're looking after yourself. Please don't forget that weight loss isn't the only goal of a keto diet, or figuring out your perfect match of macro percentages. A lot of people try this new lifestyle not to lose weight and more to feel stronger. potentially to feel less tired throughout the day, fend off cravings, and gain muscle. For example, those looking for endurance performances, such as to run marathons, may instead prefer a higher percentage of carbs that burn quicker. At the same time, strength athletes are more likely to look for a moderately low ratio of carbs and an even number of proteins and fats. But what about those looking to follow the keto diet? Typically, they expect a blend of a very low percentage of calories from carbs, a moderate protein intake, and a high percentage of calories from fats. It might not be an exact science to find what is perfect for you, but there's enough research and understanding for you out there to see what distribution works well for you based on your health and goals. It's important to remember that while you might have your personal goals, you must remember government recommendations too, so you don't get caught up in the numbers game and get yourself into an unhealthy position. The federal dietary recommendations suggest a macronutrient ratio of 45 to 60% carbohydrates, 20 to 35% fats, and the remainder to be protein. This recommendation comes from carbs being the body's primary fuel source, therefore being the easiest for the body to convert from food into energy. However, it takes far longer and is a far more complicated metabolic process for fats and proteins, meaning that while they're great for other things, they're not useful for when your body needs quick energy. When trying to find what percentages work for you, you may find that using a pie chart is the most useful resource for you, as it is the tool that many others use to seek the perfect macronutrient distribution for their goals. And remember that what works for you isn't just about your goals. Some people's bodies respond differently to certain foods than others. For example, some people may be able to thrive on a low-carb diet, while others would struggle to get through the day. And some may love a high-protein diet, while others would soon have issues with their digestive system. Make sure that your goals are realistic and based on the actual performance of your own body, rather than just wishful thinking based on a body that you wish you had. Calculations. When it comes to delving deep into your fitness journey, learning how to calculate your macros can be a great way of gaining control and independence. But for someone only just now learning the basics or getting started on their journey, it can look confusing and complex, and it can be difficult to know where to start. But don't worry. We'll provide you with all the information you need to know so you can follow the formula to get accurate results and find out what will work the best for you. Wondering what a macro calculator is and how you can buy one? Don't worry. It's not as difficult as it sounds. It's essentially an easy equation to follow that works out how many macronutrients you need every day based on your weight and daily activity levels. It's easy to tweak and put your own information into too. While many may refer to it as a weight loss calculator, this is sincerely not what it is, and you should refrain from calling it this. Not only is it untrue, but it's also an unhealthy mindset to be going into this process with. The calculator tells you exactly how many grams of carbohydrates, fat, and protein you should be eating each day to hit your goals. It's not just about losing weight, it's about whatever you want it to be about. The first step is working out what your basal metabolic rate, BMR, is. This is essentially the number that tells you how many calories your body burns each day without you doing anything. So, for example, if you were to be sitting in a chair without moving, this is the number of calories your body would naturally find a way of burning through. Of course, every person has a different number based on their metabolism, but don't worry. There's a simple equation you can follow to help it work out. It's called the Harris-Benedict equation. BMR equals 655 plus 4.35 times your weight in pounds plus 4.7 times your height in inches minus 4.7 times your age. The second step is deciding your activity level, which you can do by multiplying your BMR by your average activity level. You do so by using the following categories: little or no exercise, 1.2. Light exercise a few times a week / exercise a few times a week, 1.375. Moderate exercise 3 to 5 times a week, 1.55. Heavy exercise 6 to 7 times per week, 1.725. Once you work this out, the number you are left with is how many calories you should ideally eat in a day. The next stage is choosing your macro split. If, for whatever reason, you would be looking to stay lean while adding muscle, this would suggest splitting your daily calories into a macronutrient split of 40% protein, 30% carbohydrates, 30% fat. This certain array of percentages helps make sure you're getting enough carbohydrates to fuel your activity and workouts. It also ensures that you're keeping enough protein to keep your muscles strong and repaired, while also holding enough fats to keep your hormone production everything it should be, so you can continue to promote a lean figure. Of course, it's a delicate split, and it might take you a little while to figure out what works for you. But listening to your body is one of the best things you can do for yourself at this point. Next, it's time for you to work out how many grams of each macro you should be consuming. For remember, proteins and carbohydrates provide 4 calories of energy per gram, and fat provides 9 calories. Therefore, you'll need to do some math to figure out what works for you and how much you should be eating. To figure out how many grams you need to multiply your total daily calories by 0.4 for protein and 0.3 for carbohydrates and fat. The protein and carbohydrate figures are then divided by 4 and the fat figure by 9. The final figures will be how many grams of each to eat. While all of this might sound very involved and complex, this should be something that adds to your lifestyle and makes you feel happier and rejuvenated. It shouldn't be providing you extra stress or weighing you down. And if you're struggling with working out each meal or doing the math before sitting down to eat, maybe you could try batch cooking as many others do. So you only have to do the math once and can then just cook once and have it all prepared for the rest of the week, ready to be enjoyed. Macro calculators. If you're struggling to keep track of everything you're eating and knowing what your self-incurred limits are, then maybe you would benefit from looking into some macro calculator apps or websites to keep you on track. Many of them are great for helping you stay within your macronutrient split, letting you track every dish, daily intake, and telling you how much you have left per day, so you don't have to worry about doing the math yourself. This is the perfect aid for when you are fancying a treat, such as an extra scoop of your breakfast or a spoonful of peanut butter in your porridge. You can allow yourself that extra element of deliciousness without worrying how you're going to be able to make up for it. Your intake for the rest of the day will just be tweaked instead, and it won't be an issue. It also means that it's easier for you to enjoy the food you're eating rather than entirely restricting you from your favorite dishes and the little sweet treats that truly make life worth living. Remember, this entire process is in the hopes of making you feel better about your body and yourself. If the opposite is happening, then something isn't working, and elements of what you're doing or how you're doing it need to be changed. There are a few different macro calculators out there, each one providing different tools and a different manner of doing things. Each person will prefer a specific form of calculator that is available, so have a read through and figure out which one would work best for you, if any. IIFYM is luckily free, but you do require an email address to be able to sign up. The letters themselves stand for "If it fits your macros," a popular phrase you might come across a lot in the community to help keep you motivated. It's probably one of the more helpful and comprehensive calculators available, especially because it's free. In addition, it collects other information about your lifestyle that other calculators may not, such as your activity at work and what cravings you have, altogether helping create a more detailed description of your individual needs and how your percentages might change as a result. Healthy Eater is also free and utilizes a macro calculator that calculates your macronutrient ratio based on personal details such as your age, gender, height, activity level, and weight. This makes it easily customizable based on what exactly you're looking for out of this diet, such as gaining or losing weight as an example. This calculator is also great because it doesn't assume how much you want to eat a day and allows you to choose how any meals work for you, not limiting you to the traditional 3, instead providing options for 4 and even 5. Muscle for Life is also free and an incredibly detailed calculator that might confuse others. However, for some, it will be the perfect tool to help them remain on task and stay motivated. By utilizing your weight, body fat percentage, and activity level, this calculator determines your lean body mass, basal metabolic rate, and total daily energy expenditure, something phenomenally useful in general, but perhaps a bit intimidating for some. While the ratio it provides is far more accurate, it requires you to know far more about your body, which may be a little too involved and out of depth for some people. This app allows you to choose whether you want to lose, gain, or maintain your current weight. Finally, it utilizes helpful sliders to adjust the ratio if the automatic recommendation just isn't working for you. MyFitnessPal is potentially one of the most popular trackers out there. However, for anyone struggling with an eating disorder, it does have a reputation for encouraging unhealthy habits. This should be kept in mind for anyone who struggles with such an issue. It is free for use for anyone who feels comfortable enough to continue utilizing this tool, but there is also a $10 a month premium version that provides a vaster array of tools. The free version is far more basic and doesn't allow you to enter gram amount for macros, only percentages, something that you may find difficult. But if you're comfortable with using only percentages, the free version might still be of great use to you, particularly because of its barcode scanning feature and its large database of food and drinks for you to use. The premium subscription allows you to track by gram amounts and percentages and provides macro breakdowns for each piece of food you consume, whether meals or snacks. It will also provide you food analyses of the quality of what you're eating, food timestamps to see when you eat what food, and weekly reports to keep you on track. My Macros Plus is another popular app that utilizes a large database and barcode snacking feature, which will certainly add ease into your life. It will also assist you in tracking your body weight and custom foods, which may come in handy for homemade recipes to save you the effort and hassle of logging in every individual ingredient. It's also handy in that it doesn't require the internet to be used, something that will certainly be helpful when you're out and about, perhaps without a solid internet connection. Chronometer is $3 to download, and then a further $6 a month, though there is also a free version available too. This tracker is great because it tracks vitamins, minerals, and macros, allowing you to track further biometrics that other apps don't, such as blood pressure, cholesterol, pulse, sleep, and mood. While this is great, it is a lot of information that you'll need to know, so it might be a little too involved for anyone who doesn't have immediate access to that data. However, if you know that information and would be comfortable logging it into the app, you'll be able to see long-term trends within your body and a clear picture of your overall health, something that may help keep you motivated and feeling good about your health journey. Despite being an impressive app, it can also be a little overwhelming, so keep that in mind. What can I eat on keto? When starting a new diet or lifestyle such as keto, it begins easy to ask what you are and are not, quote, allowed to eat. The answer is simple. No food is banned from this diet. Thinking of particular foods as, quote, good or, quote, bad is an unhealthy mindset to allow yourself to become hooked into, and it's instead far healthier to think of food as entirely neutral. However, as the keto diet, or the ketogenic diet as it's more professionally known, is a low-carb, high-fat diet, certain foods become easier to incorporate into the diet than others. The term ketogenic comes from the metabolic state called ketosis, built around the diet. The state itself comes about when you drastically reduce your carbohydrate intake, meaning your body is supplied only a limited amount of glucose, which exists as the main source of energy for the cells, meaning that fat takes its place. When in this state, your body becomes incredibly efficient at burning fat for energy and turning fat into ketones in the liver to help supply energy to the brain. Due to the filling nature of the diet, it is often employed by people looking to lose weight, as it doesn't necessarily require you to count calories or track your food intake unless you'd prefer to. One review also found it an effective diet for long-term weight loss, especially more than for people following general low-fat diets. The increased ketones, lower blood sugar levels, and improved insulin sensitivity may also play a crucial role in this weight loss efficiency, but its reductions in diastolic blood pressure and triglyceride levels is also enjoyed by those struggling with their health. Diabetics have been known to enjoy the benefits of the keto diet too, as their struggles with high blood sugar, impaired insulin, and changes in their metabolism make them a great candidate for the keto diet, particularly as the keto diet has been found to improve insulin sensitivity by up to 75%. The ability of the keto diet to help people lose weight is also great for those struggling with type 2 diabetes or prediabetes. Ketogenic diets are enjoyed for their health benefits, for not only can they generally help people lose weight, but it also helps people with a manner of different health struggles. Those dealing with cancer may find that it can help minimize or slow tumor growth. Those struggling with heart disease can find their body fat levels improved, as well as those of the HLD cholesterol levels, blood pressure, and blood sugar. It has also been found to slow the progression of Alzheimer's disease, create significant reductions in the seizure experiences of epileptic children, improve Parkinson's disease symptoms, help those with polycystic ovary syndrome, potentially through its reduction in insulin levels, and improve outcomes of traumatic brain injuries. While much research is still ongoing in each of these fields and issues, the benefits are plain to see in general. And as a result, the health and wellness industry is strongly supporting the keto diet for anyone dealing with these issues. The keto diet is the most effective way to enter ketosis, though practicing intermittent fasting is understood to help speed the process. While there are many forms of intermittent fasting, the most common method involves limiting the times when you eat to around 8 hours a day within a specific period, leaving you to remain fasting for the remaining 16 hours. Before undertaking intermittent fasting, please make sure to do thorough research into the different methods and ensure to keep your own personal lifestyle and health issues in mind, speaking to a professional if you have any questions or worries. There are also many different types of ketogenic diets to keep in mind before undertaking in any, such as Standard Ketogenic Diet, SKD. This is a very low-carb diet that also boasts being high fat and moderate in protein, typically with the percentages of 70% fat, 20% protein, and 10% carbs. The Cyclical Ketogenic Diet, CKD. As the name suggests, this is a cyclical diet, which allows for periods of higher carb refeeds, such as a certain number of ketogenic days, then being followed by some higher carb days. Targeted Ketogenic Diet, TKD. This diet allows you to target specific feeds around specific times and events, such as allowing you to add carbs around your workouts. High Protein Ketogenic Diet. While similar to a standard ketogenic diet, the ratio is slightly different to allow for a larger amount of protein, such as 60% fat, 35% protein, and 5% carbs. Despite the array of ketogenic diets utilized around the world, it's important to remember that only the high protein and standard ketogenic diets have been studied extensively. This makes them a far suitable option for those who are only just now learning about ketogenic diets for the first time and want to make sure they're making healthy choices for themselves. However, for people who are comfortable and experienced with the keto diet, such as professional athletes or bodybuilders, the more advanced diets of cyclical or targeted ketogenic diets may be preferable and still healthy for them to try and maintain. The majority of the diet should be based around whole, single-ingredient foods, with the majority of your meals designed around the following goods: fatty fish, such as salmon, tuna, trout, and mackerel; meats of all kinds, whether red meat, chicken, turkey, or bacon; eggs; butters and creams, such as heavy cream; unprocessed cheeses, such as cheddar, goat, cream, blue, or mozzarella; healthy oils, similar to extra virgin olive oil and avocado oil; avocados, including guacamole; low-carb vegetables, such as tomatoes, onions, peppers, and green vegetables. But just because these might be dishes that you should base your meals around, doesn't mean you can't also enjoy a range of delicious snacks, too. There is a wide selection of options of snacks to keep you going between meals, so don't worry if you get hungry easily, or quickly. A handful of nuts or seeds, olives, hard-boiled or deviled eggs, 90% dark chocolate, full-fat Greek yogurt mixed with nut butters and cocoa powder, strawberries and plain cottage cheese, celery with salsa and guacamole, beef jerky. While following any diet or lifestyle, it's always recommended to take extra supplements to make sure you're getting all the vitamins and minerals your body needs to stay strong and healthy. And just because the keto diet utilizes a different percentage of fats and carbs than some lifestyles allow, doesn't mean that you should stop taking supplements too. While none of them are critically required, the following could be useful depending on you and your specific needs. MCT oil can be added to drinks and yogurt, so perfect for taking in the morning with breakfast, to provide energy and assist the increasing of ketone levels. Whey can also be used when added to breakfast shakes or yogurts to increase protein intake on a daily basis. Minerals, such as added salt as an example, which are particularly great when you're starting out in this new diet, to accommodate any shifts in your own personal water or mineral intake as a result. Caffeine can be enjoyed for its energy enhancement, as well as its benefits for fat loss and performance boosting. Exogenous ketones can help raise the body's ketone levels further if required. Creatine provides numerous benefits for health and performance, and is particularly helpful when exercise is undertaken. What food should I avoid? As previously mentioned, there isn't necessarily any food that should be entirely avoided or, quote, banned. In general, if there's a piece of food that you love, the keto diet is flexible enough that you can certainly accommodate it. However, in general, any food that is particularly high in carbs should be limited. Many people find that eliminating the following food items helps them enter ketosis and further enjoy the benefits of the diet. Sugary foods, such as cake, ice cream, and also drinks, such as smoothies, soda, and fruit juices. Grains or starches, such as rice, pasta, and wheat-based products. Fruit, though small amounts of berries are okay. Beans or legumes. Root vegetables and tubers, such as carrots and parsnips. Low-fat or diet products, such as low-fat versions of condiments and dressings. Unhealthy fats, such as processed vegetable oils. Alcohol, whether beer, wine, liquor, or mixed drinks. Some condiments or sauces, such as barbecue sauce, honey mustard, teriyaki sauce, and ketchup. Sugar-free diet foods, sugar-free candies, syrups, puddings, sweeteners, desserts, etc. While the key to a successful keto diet may sound simple, just to limit your carb intake and up your fats, it can often be difficult to first get your head around everything you can and cannot eat anymore. Next, we'll go through all the main food groups and elements that you might struggle with, so you can understand why they are best to avoid, or at least limit. Grains. Grains are filled with carbohydrates, which are the very thing you're trying to limit the most in keto. It therefore makes it best to avoid them as much as possible, especially rice, wheat, rye, sourdough, oats, corn, oatmeal, sandwich wraps, quinoa, flour, and corn tortillas. Make sure not to forget that all the fan favorites of bread, pasta, and cookies, and even pizza crusts, are made from grains and therefore boast a high carb count. However, there is a way to still enjoy some pasta dishes by making a few tweaks and changes. For example, just because spaghetti is full of carbs doesn't mean you can't still have a form of it. You might have heard of people using butternut squash to make spaghetti, but that is probably too starchy for the keto diet. But making spaghetti squash would be delicious, healthy, and also keto-friendly. The same also goes when it comes to enjoying chips. While any made with flour are likely going to be too full of carbs to keep you on track, that doesn't mean you can't enjoy them differently. If you're looking for something keto-friendly, while also good for your heart, and salty enough to scratch that itch, try cutting up lots of seeds and nuts in a food processor, adding white vinegar and salt, rolling them up in seaweed, and cooking them in the oven until they're nice and crispy. You'll never look back. Do you feel like your salads are a little bland without the perfect crunch of a crouton mid-bite? Well, you don't have to say goodbye to them completely. Simply try swapping them out for hemp hearts. They're far more nutrient-dense than plain old croutons, but they don't pile on the carbs and also help you meet your unsaturated fat goals for the day. An all-around amazing swap. Fruits. It isn't unusual to be shocked to see that you should be limiting your fruit intake, but it's important you understand why rather than following advice blindly. Many fruits are naturally high in sugar and carbs, so it's best to avoid them and replace them with low glycemic fruits such as berries, whether strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, etc., or even tomatoes. Berries are still high in carbs naturally, so keep portions low, but they're definitely still able to be enjoyed by those on keto, and the fiber that berries such as raspberries are packed with also makes them a great option. Beware of frozen berries, though, for frozen fruit tends to have a higher carb count due to having been sweetened. Olives and avocado are also excellent resources of healthy fat, but try and avoid or limit fruits such as bananas, apples, pears, grapes, tangerines, oranges, pineapples, mangoes, nectarines, peaches, dried fruits such as raisins and dates, fruit smoothies. Carb count will vary by fruits used. All fruit juices, excluding lemon and lime juice. Vegetables. While there are many vegetables that you can still have and enjoy while on the keto diet, you may find that all vegetables grown below the ground are starchier and have a higher carb rate, and therefore should be avoided more. Here are the main vegetables to avoid. Potatoes, sweet potatoes, artichoke, parsnips, yams, peas, corn. Are you finding it difficult to know how to swap out your favorite vegetables, such as peas, for something a bit more keto-friendly? Peas are naturally very starchy, and hold more carbs than green non-starchy vegetables such as broccoli. Therefore, you might find that consuming less starchy vegetables makes it easier to stay on track with your keto allowances. If you're really looking to have slim vegetable carb intakes, consider spinach. It's high fiber, which will help keep your bowels moving, something you will find supremely important when undertaking keto, as many often struggle with the nasty side effect of constipation. Sweet potatoes, while being delicious, are unfortunately very starchy, so you might find that swapping them out for cauliflower is a great way to keep your plate and your stomach full. Struggling to think of ideas? Just mash it all up with olive oil, garlic, and you have a perfect substitute with any meal without any of the consequences for your keto diet. It's strange how even classic vegetables such as carrots, one we have potentially with most meals and have always been encouraged to eat, can now suddenly tip you over the edge with your keto allowances. One medium carrot can hold up to 5 grams of carbs, and since we often eat more than one at a time, even just a portion of carrots could fill your daily carb allowance. On the other hand, you might find that swapping them for bell peppers, which are less starchy and hold fewer carbs, is a better fit. While they might not be as sweet, they're certainly delicious and can add to any dish. Legumes. Leguminous plants such as beans and peas tend to be high in protein, which is great, but also high in carbs, which can be unideal for those following a ketogenic diet. Such legumes to avoid could include baked beans, chickpeas, lentils, green peas, kidney beans, cannellini beans, lima beans, black beans, black-eyed peas, pinto beans. Dairy. When eaten in moderation, dairy can be a low-carb food, but it does still contain carbs, so keep an eye on your intake to ensure it stays low, and be wary of the following dairy foods while on keto. Most kinds of milk, including condensed milk, creamed cottage cheese, fat-free or low-fat yogurt. While we might think that margarine may be better for us than butter, it certainly isn't keto-friendly due to old sticks being high and a rush in trans fats, which can increase the risk of heart disease. In addition, margarine spreads today are often made from oils such as palm or soybean, which aren't recommended while on the keto diet. Instead, you might find that swapping out your margarine for extra virgin olive oil is a better fit for you. Not only has this been found to be rich in monounsaturated fatty acids that ease inflammation and promote blood flow, but it's also been proven to be great for the heart and is keto-friendly. If you're finding that you're getting through a lot of cow milk and it's affecting your keto diet, don't worry and think that all is lost. Simply try out an alternative. Almond milk can make a huge difference to how many carbs you're getting through, and is just a good base for any smoothies or milkshakes you might find yourself making. It's also great for vegans, or people who are lactose intolerant too. Protein. To create and maintain sufficient muscle mass, protein is one of the most important elements of your diet, with or without being on keto. Fish and poultry are some of the best protein sources, while also being low in carbs. But for those living alongside keto, the advice might be provided to search for fattier cuts of meat. Examples of this would be fatty fish like salmon, or even chicken thighs. Of course, one of your best options is to avoid, or at least limit, meats that have been processed, such as bacon with added sugar, breaded meats, any other processed meats. Sometimes we don't have to miss out on favorite foods because of keto. We just have to be a bit sneaky and make sure we're being careful about what exactly we're eating. So, for example, if you're finding that the sugar in honey-glazed ham is pushing you over your allowances, you can enjoy the same tastes, but with better percentages in the form of deli meat. Of course, you might still want to check ingredient lists to make sure that there aren't any sugars hiding in your food picks without your knowing, but they're often holding far less sugars than the alternative and can be enjoyed far more than choices like bacon, which tend to be worse for your heart. Oils and other unhealthy fats. It's important that you keep consuming a healthy amount of fats as part of your keto diet, or really any diet or lifestyle. However, just because oils may be carb-free doesn't mean it's healthy to necessarily eat them in large portions, so try to keep your intake around a daily 2 to 4 tablespoons. Beverages. While most of our attention goes straight to what food we are eating, it's also important that we don't forget about what we're drinking. While being delicious, many of our popular picks for drinks are loaded with hidden sugars and carbs that can affect our diet without us even realizing. Most of the liquids you're drinking should be water, and ideally, you should be drinking 6 to 8 glasses of water a day. While following a keto diet, please try to avoid or limit the following sugar or carb-full drinks: colas and sodas, sugary hot drinks similar to hot chocolates, frappuccinos, and mochas, energy and sports drinks that aren't sugar-free, fruit juices, sweetened iced teas, cocktails, particularly fruity ones. If you're looking to lose weight, it might be a good idea to stay away from alcohol completely. As much as that might be painful to realize, the body tends to metabolize alcohol first, leaving you at risk of dehydration. But if you choose to drink, sometimes what you choose to consume can make a big difference to your keto diet. Try to only drink small amounts occasionally without binging, and perhaps choose hard liquor, such as a vodka, to be mixed with unsweetened soda water. It will still make you warm and fuzzy and let you enjoy your night among friends, but a vodka soda doesn't have any carbs, so it won't upset your keto diet at all. While blended, frozen drinks, such as piña coladas, are undoubtedly delicious. They're also packed with sugar to the degree that could entirely destabilize your keto diet. For example, one piña colada can hold 43.7 grams of carbs per drink, which represents 2 days' worth of carb allotments, far more than one drink should ever provide for you. Try to steer clear of beers, too. While being accessible and cheap at most drinking establishments, even light beers hold 6 grams of carbohydrates per can, so you might find that you have to borrow carbohydrates elsewhere, such as from your vegetables, which might not be the healthiest choice for you. As much as it might be difficult to change your alcohol drinking habits, more than anything, it might be difficult to break the habit of drinking sugary sodas and swapping to water. Not only are sugary drinks, such as sodas, difficult to enjoy while sticking to the keto diet, but they are also bad for your heart and increase your chances of suffering from cardiovascular disease. Try drinking sparkling water instead, if you can't get into the habit of drinking plain water because you miss the fizz. Also, while sugar-free sodas may be out there, they are full of artificial sweeteners that stimulate appetite and make it easier to gain weight. Therefore, sticking to sparkling or plain water is the best option, not only just to stick to keto, but also to keep you as healthy as possible. Side effects and what to expect. While you've already read that there are many benefits to following the keto diet, and there are many ways it can improve your health and well-being, it's also important you understand that there's a chance you might experience some side effects too. The keto diet will be entirely safe for most people, but it's normal to feel some side effects when changing your lifestyle and eating habits so drastically. As much as it will take you time to get used to deciding what new foods you are and are not able to eat, it will take your body the same amount. Many people within the community call this adjustment the keto flu, and many report having experienced it over a few days. Such symptoms often include digestive discomfort and difficulties on the toilet, such as constipation or diarrhea, poor energy and functioning abilities, such as during exercise, increased hunger or nausea, issues with sleep. To try and minimize these symptoms, you might decide that it's a good idea to ease yourself into the diet rather than jumping in straight to the deep end. Not only can this help you get used to drinking and eating the same things you always have that are no longer the best options for you, but it might help get your body ready for the big change gradually too. For example, you could try a general low-carb diet for the first few weeks and see how you get on. This will help you cut out or limit certain foods and get your body used to what it feels like to eliminate carbs. It's not just about changing carbs in your diet that can make your body experience side effects. Don't forget that a ketogenic diet can also make big changes to the balance between water and minerals in your body. So you may find that taking extra supplements can help bridge this gap. It's also important that, at least in the beginning, you don't restrict your calories too much and that you eat until you're full. It's not uncommon for a ketogenic diet to naturally cause you to lose weight even if you don't mean to. So make sure you keep an eye on this and ensure you're a healthy weight as you continue with the diet. And don't forget, if you have any worries or concerns, it's best to take them to a medical professional such as a doctor to make sure that you're making the right decisions for you and your body. While much of these symptoms may ease over time as your body gets used to your new diet, some people may find that being on the keto diet for a prolonged amount of time may negatively affect their health. You should get in touch with your doctor if you experience any of the following symptoms: micronutrient deficiencies, low protein in the blood, kidney stones, more research is constantly being undertaken on the keto diet, not just on the great ways it can boost health, but also its potential dangers too. So keep this in mind before undertaking the diet, and keep your doctor informed of any severe changes to your diet and lifestyle. They can let you know if you'd be a good candidate for the keto diet before you try it, and they can help you keep an eye on your symptoms or side effects. What happens if I cheat on keto? It's easy to see that the keto diet, while being very beneficial, is certainly involved, complex, and limits a fair number of foods. While many people may thoroughly enjoy the restrictions and thrive with the challenge, it's also easy to understand how difficult integrating such a diet into your lifestyle could become. Whether you're struggling with the side effects, or struggling to make your lifestyle fit your new diet, or even if you just forget about your diet when out with your non-keto friends, it becomes easy to be tempted by a high-carb treat. Of course, falling off the keto bandwagon isn't anything to be ashamed or anxious about. It's bound to happen to everyone at some point, and to maintain a healthy relationship with food and eating in general, it's important that you don't make yourself or anyone else feel bad for eating something that isn't considered keto-friendly. You might even find that your motivation is improved, and your enthusiasm for your diet returns when you allow yourself cheat days or cheat meals. But it's important you understand what cheat meals will do for your state of ketosis, and that knowledge helps influence your decisions. You may have heard of the concept of cheat meals before, typically in the realm of professional athletes or bodybuilders within mainstream media, posting lists of the extortionate amounts they've eaten on cheat days. It's essentially a meal that those who follow strict diets often enjoy after a certain amount of time to temporarily break their diet and eat everything they wish. The idea is that allowing you to indulge in all of your favorite goodies and treats outside of your chosen lifestyle or diet will help keep you to sticking to your choices in general, giving you something in particular to look forward to, so you're not constantly thinking about breaking your diet day to day. While helpful in most diets, with keto, it does complicate things due to the state of ketosis that the diet helps your body maintain. To stay in ketosis, you have to eat approximately fewer than 50 grams of carbs per day, something you're likely to break when eating whatever you wish, such as large amounts of pizza, processed meat, and sugary drinks. Because carbs are the body's preferred energy source, the moment you eat more carbs than usual, your body will choose to gain fuel from them rather than over ketone bodies derived from fats. 50 grams might sound like a lot, but even a single cheat meal is sure to kick you out of ketosis, and medical research shows that suddenly reintroducing a high-carb meal to a ketogenic diet has the potential to damage your blood vessels. It's also easy to overeat while cheating, as you're eating different food than usual, and typically larger portions too. So any weight loss regimens that you're following are likely to be ruined too. You might find that you gain weight, which could have the consequence of demotivating you and making it easier for you to decide to leave behind your keto diet and simply enjoy cheat meals as your new normal. The specific number of carbs it will take to kick people out of ketosis will obviously depend on each person and how long they've been undertaking the keto diet. The effect of losing the state of ketosis can be pretty immediate, occurring even in the same day as the aforementioned cheat meal. You might also find that it's difficult to immediately return to a state of ketosis afterwards, for it takes people anywhere from 1 day to a week to initially get into a ketosis state when first starting their diet. However, if someone has been following a keto diet for quite some time, they may find it far easier and quicker to return to that state after a cheat meal or day. If you have been following the keto diet for 3 to 6 weeks, or even longer, you are getting up to 70% of your energy from your fat intake, making it easier for you to return to ketosis rather than someone who never quite became fully fat adapted. How to cheat on a ketogenic diet the right way. Just because in mainstream media, cheat days or cheat meals have come to be synonymous with eating fatty, carb-loaded foods to excess until you're sick and are simply unable to eat anymore, doesn't mean that they have to be. On the contrary, research suggests that diet cheats can be a healthy way of approaching eating and diets as they promote balance and moderation. In addition, strategic eating can also help people psychologically deal or reduce the potential cravings they may be dealing with. So, ultimately, just because you want a cheat day doesn't mean that your lifestyle or diet have to be entirely ruined, and being a little careful and smart about the way you cheat could help you overall. How to cheat. You may find that if you want to try a cheat meal, but you're afraid of no longer being in the state of ketosis, that you could try a keto-approved cheat meal. It might feel a little strange to suggest, but if you're worried about the consequences of cheating, then maybe not cheating at all is the way to go, leaving true cheat meals for when you're really desperate. One way of cheating without actually cheating is to find keto-approved recipes for versions of your favorite cheat meals or snacks. That way, you can enjoy the taste and sensation of your favorite meal without regretting or worrying about the consequences for the next few days. Keto is becoming a more popular lifestyle and dietary choice, meaning that supermarkets, recipe books, and online resources cater far more to keto-approved menus. So, with a little research and perhaps some particular inspiration in mind, keto-approved pizza, anyone? You could grab something that will feel like a treat without having to deal with the next day guilt. If you're finding that a keto-approved cheat dish or snack just isn't doing the job, you may realize that you need the real thing. If this happens, it may be smarter for you to decide to have a cheat meal rather than an entire cheat day. This will help you keep on top of your overall nutrition and calories, for a meal can add 1,000 calories to your day, if not more, whereas a cheat day can add a far larger number than that, even undoing the hard work from the entire week in some cases. If you go into your cheat meal with a plan, you'll be able to relax and enjoy your dish while knowing that you won't be ruining any more progress than you need to. If you pick your meals and work out what calories and carbs you'll be ingesting in advance, you'll be far more inclined to understand the decision you're making and what you'll have to do over the next week or so to combat your decision. Planning these things in advance also helps make the timing of your cheat meal or day as worth it as possible. For example, it's a far better idea to have a cheat meal or day on your birthday or to celebrate something important to you, rather than on a random day when you could really be going without. If you're looking to partake in some strenuous exercise, you might find it a good idea to plan some smaller cheats around those workouts to ensure that you'll be kept in ketosis to use up any extra carbs quickly. If you're new to the keto diet, you might want to consider planning your first cheat day at least a few weeks into your new diet. Give yourself a chance to make some progress before potentially temporarily derailing it. You'll also find it easier to get back into your ketosis if you have waited a little while after starting, too. If you've decided to cheat and have decided to just go for it and not worry too much about the consequences, that's fine and entirely your choice to make. However, one thing you might want to consider doing anyway is using one of the popular macro-friendly apps suggested in a previous chapter to at least record what you're eating and how many calories and macros you're getting to. This will help keep you informed about everything you're eating and help you later down the line to make a plan for getting back into a state of ketosis and everything you'll have to do to recover your diet. How to recover from cheating. One of the easiest ways to recover from a cheat meal or day is to resume your previous low-carb keto lifestyle. Reverting back to your previous macros and diet is the best and simplest way to get back into the swing of things. If you're not cheating regularly and you're able to get back into your previous manner of eating, you'll recover from your cheat naturally and won't really have to worry about it beyond that. However, sometimes it's important to take a break and enjoy the food you love without making yourself feel guilty for it or beating yourself up. You might have to be a bit stricter with yourself than usual, and the process of returning to ketosis could take anything from 1 day to 1 week, depending on your personal experience with keto, as well as your metabolism and activity levels. If you're looking to kickstart the process of getting back into keto after a cheat meal or day, you could try intermittent fasting, as previously mentioned in another chapter. Combining the keto diet with this other dietary decision may help your body shift its fuel source from carbs to fat much quicker, therefore bringing you back into a state of ketosis. Another form of fasting you could try is a short-term, temporary fat fast, such as that of the egg fast. This may help expedite and speed up the return to the state of ketosis, which is what you'll want if you're desperate to get back to normal quickly after a short break. Simpler ways of returning to a state of ketosis include tracking your carb intake so that you don't underestimate or overestimate it, and know exactly what you should and shouldn't be eating. You could also amp up the amount of physical exercise you're doing, as this depletes your glycogen store, which is essentially your body's store of carbs. Therefore, the more exercise you do, in theory, the quicker you can return to a state of ketosis. Make sure you're still drinking lots of water, and don't be tempted to get silly with the amount of exercise you're doing. Make smart decisions for your general health, and don't overdo it just to get back into a state of ketosis. If you're really struggling, Then you can also start taking a medium-chain triglyceride MCT supplement, as these rapidly absorb fatty acids so that they can be converted into ketones. If you find yourself unsure if you're in ketosis or not, the best way to know where your body is by testing your ketone levels. Several different tools will help you do this, particularly at home. And if you don't mind the investment, you can try ketone breath meters and blood ketone meters. However, the cheapest of your options is keto urine strips and are almost certainly the easiest to use. How to stop cheating in the future. If you find it difficult for you to stick to the keto diet, you may want to try a few tools to stop you from cheating in the future. One of the easiest ways to keep to the diet and save money in general is to make a plan for your food. Not only will this help you know what food you should be buying in the grocery store to save money and save any of your food from going to waste, but it will also help you get excited about the food you're making and also stop you from that classic, I have nothing in the cupboards, so I might get a takeaway temptation. If you're finding that you're unexcited about the keto-friendly meals you're eating, it's time to get proactive and do some research, keeping in mind the types of snacks, drinks, and meals you enjoy. If you can find food that you're excited about, you'll be less wanting to cheat. Another way to make cheating less of an option is to entirely rid your home of potential temptations. Finding yourself tempted by those frozen pizzas in the freezer or gummy worms in the kitchen cupboard? If so, then it's time to rip off the Band-Aid and simply make it an impossibility for you to ruin your diet with them. Chuck them in the bin and be done with it. And while it might hurt in the moment, you're sure to feel better for it in general by the end. If you find your keto diet to be a lonely experience, such as having to miss out on takeaways and dinner parties with friends because it doesn't fit with your diet, you might want to consider finding a keto buddy. Essentially, if you can make friends with someone else following the keto diet, or if you realize that one of your pre-existing friends is also interested in keto, you can motivate each other and keep each other accountable as you consider your new lifestyle and diet journey. However, if you're finding that the idea of cheat meals and cheat days are the only thing getting you through, and you're not as happy on the keto diet as you could be otherwise, it might be time for you to consider whether being on the keto diet is the best idea for you. It's okay if this lifestyle ends up not being the best thing for you. And if you're being brutally honest with yourself, we only end up sticking to lifestyles and diets that we love. So if you're not loving your new food journey, the chances of you sticking with it are slim. So be honest with yourself, hold yourself accountable, and make whatever decision is best for you, because that is what is truly important. How to get into the correct mindset for enjoying keto. Keto has become a wildly popular diet and lifestyle choice over the last few years for a very specific reason: because it works. Whether you're looking to lose weight or simply feel better within yourself and enjoy all the other health benefits it has to offer, it's a great way to shake up your life and try something new that might make you much happier and healthier. However, it's understandable if it takes you a while to get into the keto mindset, for it can feel a little backward to eat fats to lose weight. The idea alone can be a bit menacing, but you must trust the process and trust the professionals. You might find that it's difficult to break some bad habits you picked up pre-keto, something potentially easier said than done, but that's okay too. You can't expect to suddenly be perfectly prepared for keto straight away. Sometimes it's about finding little tips and tricks for you to help get you into the correct mindset. Once you're able to make this change, you might find that it's easier to make the switch into a new diet, no matter how intimidating you find it, to help lead you towards the success you're excited for. Tip 1. Believe that you can do anything you set your mind to. Unfortunately, it's all too easy for us to go into new challenges doubting our ability to be successful. It's only natural to be hard on ourselves, and a lot of the time, staying humble and down to earth can be a good thing, keeping us from overestimating our abilities and pushing us to do better. But sometimes, it's also important to lift yourself up and remind yourself that you really can do anything that you put your mind to and commit to achieving. When reading about all the other positive experiences that other people have experienced with keto, endless paragraphs about how amazing people feel and how much weight they lost, it can feel just out of reach for you personally. While it's important to remember that a lot of testimonials might be exaggerated or blown up, and that you particularly shouldn't trust any extreme before and after pictures either, due to the popular usage of Photoshop in mainstream and diet media, it doesn't mean that you won't experience a great change within yourself too. So, It's time that you stop focusing on the changes and experiences of everyone else and focus on yourself and your own health and well-being, for that's all that really matters. It's also understandable to be wary about the safety element of keto, particularly if you do have pre-existing strong beliefs about diet and lifestyle choices or pre-existing conditions. But suppose you've done all your research and spoken to professionals who have told you time and again that it's a safe experience and journey for you to go on. In that case, you might have to simply say goodbye to your worries and anxiety and try your best to trust the science in front of you. If you follow the science, utilizing keto to lose weight by consuming fats is actually a far healthier and safer route than simply minimizing all eating and trying to starve yourself in the hopes of losing weight. Speak to your doctor if you have any concerns or any particular health issues that you fear might be exacerbated by the keto diet. But if everyone is telling you it is safe, it might be time to say goodbye to your judgments and trust them. When starting with the keto diet, you need to just thoroughly believe that you have it in you to enjoy and have a great experience with the diet, and it's far more likely to happen. Now is the time to believe in self-fulfilling prophecies, and if you go into this experience doubting yourself and telling yourself that you can't achieve your goals, you're almost certainly going to make your entire journey harder for yourself and struggle with self-control and confidence every step of the way. Tip 2. Begin with you. When starting a new diet or attempting a new lifestyle, it's all too easy to fall into the trap of believing that you need to become an entirely new person to be successful. And then, when this ultimately doesn't happen or proves impossible, it's all too common for you to start to believe that the lifestyle or diet isn't for you, and then give up, never reaping any of the potential benefits. Ultimately, this can be a great way to provide yourself with an excuse to quit. While that's understandable, if you're looking to improve your health and your happiness, you're going to have to remind yourself to take a different path, especially if you've repeated experiences of trying to lose weight and you're being harder on yourself as a result. Ideally, your life should be changing as little as possible in order to get a healthy keto lifestyle. You shouldn't try to change yourself into someone else to fit this lifestyle. You should be making this diet fit around you and your preferences, so it's working for you. It's important that you remind yourself that it's never going to be the perfect time to lose weight or try a new diet. There's always going to be something that makes it difficult or imperfect, and that's actually okay. This is just another form of procrastination, another way for you to tell yourself that you'll try, quote, tomorrow, or that now simply, quote, isn't the right time. Take even the last few years, for example, when dealing with the pandemic and the lockdowns we've all had to endure. Months and months of sitting around in our homes, unable to leave. Even then, you would have been able to find and create excuses as to why this wasn't the time to make such a change to your life. Even when provided months of boredom and waiting, you still would have found reasons to procrastinate. Even if you have the time, emotionally, we're always dealing with things that seem to take priority. And that's okay. But if you live by that philosophy, it will simply never be the right time, and you'll never find the time to getting around and making the right choices for you and your health. You don't have to be perfect to make some important changes and be proud of yourself, and you certainly shouldn't change who you are. Begin with who you are and make the changes that work for you. Tip 3. Never stop enjoying food. While it's undoubtedly true to say that following the keto diet means changing the food you eat, whether that's entirely cutting out or simply limiting certain ingredients and dishes, it's important that you never lose your love and excitement for food. You don't have to entirely eliminate everything you love about food, and doing so is actually more likely to make your dieting experience miserable and difficult to stick to. Food should be something that not only fuels you and keeps you well fed, but also something that is delicious, exciting, and something to enjoy and look forward to. Life shouldn't purely be about denying yourself for the sake of losing weight, and you must view the keto diet as a new, healthier way of enjoying food, giving yourself the chance to try new ingredients and see what else is out there for you to try. Of course, as much as you want to enjoy all the food as much as possible, you must still stick to the rules of keto, particularly at the beginning when you're first getting started. Once you start the diet and realize what foods and tastes you do and don't enjoy the most, you can start researching keto-friendly meals and snacks that you never would have initially thought existed. There is an entirely new range of flavors out there for you to enjoy that you never would have previously known about. Tip 4. Stay realistic. While it's always great to be excited and delve deep into a new hobby, diet, or lifestyle, it can also be incredibly easy to get caught up in the moment and forget as a result to remain realistic. We've all done it. Decided to make a new resolution or explore a new hobby, doing all the research and investing in all the tools, only to slowly forget about it a few weeks later. It's only natural, but you must go into the keto diet with realistic intentions and expectations so you don't become disappointed and lose traction with your progress, giving it up as a result. A simple way of staying realistic is to remind yourself of who you really are. If you've never enjoyed or been good at cooking at home, becoming keto won't suddenly change who you are at your core. Instead, you might want to look out for any keto dishes at local restaurants or takeaways. Or, if you're struggling for options, looking at pre-made keto meals you can buy at a shop or from a subscription service online. One of the best ways you can stay realistic, but still make the necessary changes to remain keto while still being happy, is to start setting up habits and routines for yourself that will keep you grounded while still incorporating keto into your current life. Part of these routines may be writing down every single food item or ingredient you eat, or putting them into one of the previously mentioned apps to keep track, or even creating a food plan each week. Hence, you know what to buy and what meal you can cook from the food you already have in the cupboards and are comfortable with. You never know. Maybe you could create a nice little morning routine utilizing a keto-friendly breakfast that will get you started for the day. Knowing what you're eating and when you're eating it will help keep your life comfortable and organized and will stop you from dealing with the classic, "Oh no, there's nothing in the cupboard" scenario, where you might be tempted to break your keto diet and simply get a takeaway. When people start the keto diet and are looking to see what changes have been made, they tend to hop straight on the scale and find themselves disappointed with the numbers that are looking back at them. This is often one of the main reasons people quit the diet or simply give up: disappointment. But it's very important that you understand that you shouldn't necessarily be trusting the scale, for it's not the best way of seeing the changes that are going on inside your body. There are always going to be times when you'll naturally gain weight, or your weight loss will stall for a while, even if you're following the diet perfectly and are doing everything right. It is perfectly natural to be disappointed about this when you're putting in all the work and effort. Still, you need to be patient with the changes in your body and spend more time getting excited about the healthier choices you're making and less time looking at scales and judging yourself for the numbers they throw back at you. If you find yourself really needing to see numbers in your progress, if you're going to be trusting anything, you need to be trusting your tape measure more than your scales. While your weight might naturally go up and down, generally, you should be able to notice how differently you're fitting into your clothes and the shape that your body is progressing into. Tip 5. Remind yourself why you're doing this. While you are no doubt entirely certain of the personal reasons why you're looking to undergo the keto diet and making changes within your life, it's necessary that you keep these reasons at the forefront of your mind, not only for when things are going great, but also when they get a little harder. You shouldn't be undergoing or trying keto to become someone that you're not, but instead, utilizing keto as a tool to help you feel like your best self and make choices for yourself that will leave you happier and healthier than ever before. Don't change your life to do keto better, but do keto better to change your life.